Welcome, everyone, to Wedding Pro Weekly. I'm Jason Groh. Sitting next to me is the lovely Christine Stewart.
Oh, hi.
And also the always amazing Mr. Monaco,
Always
Tom
amazing.
Monaco himself. How are you today,
Wow.
Tom?
I feel great.
Feeling good?
I only got lovely.
Mm.
Always amazing, Mr.
I've never heard that I was always amazing, ever.
What?
No.
Oh, come on. You are always amazing. You guys are amazing. Well, once again, we are back talking about weddings and wedding films and the wedding industry, photography, DJ, you name it. If it's wedding information you need, this is the place to come to, and we're here to help you out. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I was coming across, thinking about rather, topics for this show and trying to think of things to discuss, trying to think of things that I think are important in the industry and things that we need to do. And, one of the things that I've noticed lately is, especially as I think I've been working a little bit, and maybe you guys have picked up on it as well, is client communications. Just communicating with your vendors, communicating with clients. We live in this world where everything is we have instant access to everything. We have text messaging, we have emails, we have website notifications, and everyone's accessible all the time. But
Well, except we're not.
right, except we're not at times. But but is there such thing as too much access? Is there such thing as too much? Like, is it just too much? Is a phone call good enough? Is an email good enough? Do you need to text people? What do you think, Christine?
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics. Well, if you email me, I pretty much know you emailed me, and I don't need you to text me and then call me to say, hey, did you read my email? I promise I'll read it. I'll get back with you when I can. I think they don't understand that there's more going on. I'm not just connected to my email all day long.
Yeah, but do you get that a lot? Do you see
Yes.
do you see that, like, a lot of that
Yes.
in what you do? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I've kind of been keeping my text number to myself. Like, I've learned that lesson. Sorry. No, it becomes really intrusive.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I'll get to your email. I promise. I always do. I'm pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then getting the text, then I have to stop what I'm doing, read the text, and then listen to the phone message on top of that. And obviously not everybody does it, but there are those clients that are very, like, in your face. Can't wait even, like, 30 minutes. It's like, hey, I sent you an email. Okay.
Yeah. I do give out my text, my cell phone number. A lot of times when I'm doing calls and whatnot, I am calling from my cell phone, so they have it. It is one of those things where I don't know, in my opinion, I think a lot of my couples are pretty good about it, but I do get it on occasion where it's like, hey, they'll send an email and then they'll text you that they sent an email, and that'll be like late in the evening, and then the next morning, like first thing, hey, did you get my email? It's like, no, I wasn't at work. I've got a life outside of what I do,
and I don't want to get back with you right away, because I actually do like to do that, so
Right.
it's not sitting on my plate.
Yeah, right.
But it doesn't always work that way.
No.
But I will get back with you.
Oh, it doesn't always work that way. So it's one of those things where, what would you suggest? What would be a suggestion to you as to, a good way of communicating? Just, maybe just one contact is good, or a couple of contacts, or just stick with
One contact is good. If you don't hear from me in that day, then maybe follow up the next day. But typically, I don't take a day to get back.
Right,
So for me, like, I know my response time is fairly immediate.
right.
So I don't need all the reminders.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm not always in the office. I'm not always in my email account.
Yeah.
I've got a few other things going on in the background.
Right.
But I don't.
Well, my favorite is always like Saturdays, right? It's like, if it's a wedding industry and it's a Saturday, I'm probably not going to be that
Probably
available.
shooting.
Right, exactly. I'm probably going to be out shooting or doing something else during that time.
Well, we also have families.
Well, right. Oh, yeah, that's
and,
right.
and
We do
on
have
the personal side.
Right, exactly.
We do have families. We
yeah,
are people.
Right, we do have families. We do have kids and whatnot. But at the same time,
Tom doesn't. But
yeah,
No.
Tom doesn't.
None.
Tom's available 24/7.
They're
If you
gone
need
now.
anything, just text him. He'll be
That's
more than
the
happy
new
to.
contact idea.
Right.
Tommaso.
Because I'm never shooting on Saturdays.
I know. Never.
Never. Right.
Or possibly Sundays or maybe
Right,
Fridays.
or Fridays, or possibly midweek, or a 3-day South Asian Indian wedding. Never. No, Tom's always available all the time. No, but it is true. I think last weekend I had a couple who just, he had some questions about his film, which is fine. I'm always, happy to answer those things. But the guy contacts me on Saturday, and then he contacts me on Sunday. Monday rolls around, I start looking at these messages, and I'm like, he contacts me on Sunday, upset that I didn't get back with him on Saturday. I'm like, we have weddings. We have things going on the weekends. I'm generally
Well, and aside
in
from
the
that,
office. Right.
we typically, our company has more clients than a lot of like your coordinators or your
Right, that's true.
photography company.
Yeah.
Because we have more staff.
Right.
So yours might not have been the first email to come in.
Right.
And I've got to go down my list.
Right.
You know,
That's
first
true
in,
too.
First out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's not that I guess in my own opinion on it is like I want to make sure that that couples are being taken care of and that people are getting responses. I
And
mean,
if you mark it urgent, it better be urgent.
right.
Because I will read those first, and then I'm like, come on.
Right. Right. I mean, but it is one of those things where, to me, it's like if give me like, especially if it's a weekend, just give me a good 24 to 48 on that. I mean, because we're most likely not going to be around on the weekends. We're going to be shooting weddings. We're going to be out doing stuff. We're going to be spending time with our families.
I feel like
which is
I
what-
kind of cracked the code a little bit because they're so into all this planning and doing and,
Right.
and the point up
Who?
to the wedding, the couples.
Oh.
Not us. We don't plan anything.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Right.
But they're so involved in it, and then like at least on the back end, it's all of a sudden they're like, I have nothing to do.
Right.
I have nothing to do.
Right. Well, they talk about that. I mean, that is something that is spoken about in the industry. Like after the wedding, it's kind of like a big, it's like you spent all this time planning it. You spent
All
all
the
this time,
excitement.
all the excitement that's put behind it, and it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm not gonna downplay that. I mean, it's a lot of work putting together a wedding, but
Mine wasn't.
at the same time, it's it is a thing where like when it's over, and then it's just kind of like okay, now all that is kind of gone. It's kind of like. I mean, I think Christmas is a good example of that. You spend all the time, getting ready for Christmas, you get everything, and then all of a sudden Christmas is over, and you're like, and there's like a
there
couple
is that
weeks where
lull.
you're kind of like,
It's not
oh
even just
man,
Christmas. It's like you have Halloween, you have
Right.
Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, and then you have like this long period where there's nothing, and you have to wait for Easter.
right. Yeah, exactly. So there is a lull afterwards. I mean, I'm not comparing a wedding day to Christmas. Obviously, it's a little bit more
Christmas is way
involved than
better.
that, but yeah. But at the same time, I mean, it's one of those things where there is a lull, and I think that after that time, I mean, it is maybe natural to want to. I don't know, like start, hey, where's my stuff? When am I getting my stuff? Where is everything there? Now, with regards to turnaround a little bit, I'm going to go a little off subject, but with regards to turnaround, I mean, a lot of clients, I mean, a lot of that stuff is listed in some sort of a proposal that you have, or if it's not, it should be, in my opinion, so that you have some idea somewhere in there as to when you're going to receive your stuff. But, I mean, it seems like it's almost like it's not getting read, like contracts aren't getting read. I don't know. And this is something where, and again, I am going to get off of our list of topics a little bit because this is something that I do want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And that is contracts and reading your contract. I mean, it is so important, no matter if it's videography or DJ or photography or whatever it may be, the venue, the catering, it could be any of that stuff, just to make sure to look through your contracts, understand what it is that you're receiving. I am mind boggled by people who contact me who have absolutely no idea
How many
what it
hours do I
is
have?
that they have actually purchased. I literally had somebody contact me who didn't even know who it was they were working with, the name of the company. I mean, to me, that is crazy. They text me, and I was like, they sent me a text. They're like, well, they're like, hey, they're asking some questions about their film. I'm like, oh, what company is it that we're working for again? Working with again? And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, you don't even know the name of the company that you went with? I mean, you don't know where your contract's at. You don't understand what it is that you're receiving. I mean, I get not knowing the ins and outs of everything. And I understand maybe saying, hey, just can you refresh me a little bit on what we're getting? I get it. I mean, this stuff is planned a year in advance. You may not remember everything that was there. Maybe you're looking at your contract and you just want to have it. I mean, they're asking me.
That, though, has something to do with we are typically the last thing they book. So they're probably just like, oh my gosh, just book something and,
Yeah, but I would still think that I would at least know what I'm getting. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't understand how it is that you can, get a contract, you can take a look at it and, and then just, throw it off someplace and then have absolutely no idea what it is you're receiving. I mean, turnaround times, things like that. I mean, all that is in there. And so many times I get people who are like, even if there are times when, I'll be honest with you, we might be a little bit past that. But nevertheless, I mean, even when we're spot on, people have no idea, when they're actually receiving their stuff or what it is that they're actually receiving. And like I said, I mean, it's one of those things where they can't find their contract. They don't know where their contract's at. They're like, to me, it boggles my mind. It completely boggles my mind. I know. So, okay. All right. Moving on from that. Let's talk a little bit about the review system. So I want to give a little bit of time and attention to this. Look, we're on Wedding Wire. There's the Knot. A lot of companies are, but lately it seems to me a little bit lately that there's kind of a thing where when is it a good time to actually, whether it's a good review or it's a bad review or whatever, when is it a good time to actually leave that review?
Ooh, I know the answer.
What is the answer?
After you've received your final product.
Absolutely. That is the answer. After
Tom,
you've
you
received.
got one.
Yes. And why, Tom, is that the reason why you want to leave that review?
Because you can finally judge that company based on their work that you paid
On a
for.
whole.
Yeah. On a
Yeah,
whole.
that's absolutely right. I mean, it's one of those things where and this can go either way. I mean, you could have a great experience at first with a company and have it go sour, or you could have a really bad experience with a company and have it actually go really well. The thing is that if you start leaving your review too early online, then what ends up happening is that, you now have to go back and update it if for some reason that, things didn't go the way that you wanted it to
I'm
go.
looking for a recipe and I find something that sounds so good and everybody has commented, "Oh, that looks great. I have to try it. Oh, I bet that tasted wonderful." And I'm like, "But does it?" Like,
Right.
does it? It's like all reviews on how maybe it's good.
Yeah.
I want to know that it's either good or bad.
Yeah.
An example that we actually experienced, one that jumps out in my head is a client that gave us, I don't know if they gave us a negative review, but they complained about their films before they received their films.
Right.
Like
Right.
raw footage or something like that.
Right.
Was it?
Is that one of yours, Zach? You, Zach, you awful. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that's a great example. I mean, and we do see it, from time to time. I mean, I think for the most part we get pretty good reviews online, but at the same time, I mean, every once in a while one pops up that kind of just, went awry. And it's one of those things where I always say, look, I'm like, get to the end of it. I mean, if we have a couple that comes in and they're, for whatever reason, they're dissatisfied. I mean, for me, I want to get to the bottom of that first and be able to make that right for the couple, or at least as happy as they possibly can be, on their exit. The problem is, I think that is when you go to when you go negative right away, you start losing the goodwill that company has that they want to actually help you out. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I mean, I hate to say I don't want to say that I'm a culprit of this necessarily, because I do want to make sure that our couples are being taken care of. But at the same time, like, if I see like just someone, essentially went online and slammed us before we actually had the opportunity to make that right or make that correct, there is a part of me that lingers in the background, like, I don't want to help these people out. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, there are things that I could do. There are things that I could include.
Well, like the email I got where the first sentences, and I had never had contact with this person once, ever. What the hell is going on? All these exclamation points, and I'm like,
right.
Okay.
Right. It's
Why
like,
are you yelling at me?
Yeah, because the thing is, like, the companies that you're working with, I mean, if for some reason things don't go the way that you initially hoped they would, or the way that
you assume they
that
should.
you assume that they should.
It's mostly based on assumptions.
Right.
And how they think that any other business operates. And if this is, they all have opinions on how it would work if they were running the show.
Of course, if they were running the show. Right, exactly. But the point I'm making is that companies can do things to help you out. Companies can do things to, to assist in that, to make it a better experience for you, by the time that you leave that, that company. And it can also go the other way around too. I mean, if you're out there, whether it's videography, DJ, photography, or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, it's a great experience, it's wonderful, and then all of a sudden that turns sour. Now you've, put a bunch of stuff out there that may not exactly be true either.
What's strange is, like, we want to help you. We want to give you everything you came in,
right,
with your contract, deserved of, whatever that word is. I don't know. Don't ask me.
Right.
Ignore me. Anyways, what I'm saying is, we want to help you. But if you come, like, on attack mode, it's, we're going to recoil as well and be like, things happen.
Right.
Relax. I'm not curing cancer over
right,
here.
exactly.
It's an unnecessary.
Yeah, you're not holding the cure to cancer.
No,
I mean, it's
but-
essentially it's a wedding.
Like
it's your
my
photos
mom
or
always
your-
said, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Right.
And it's true. Like, the people that are understanding and kind and still get that it is a business and things do happen, I want to help them.
Right.
And I do. I mean, I
Right.
want to help everybody, but, when you're yelling at me, it's like I kind of want to be like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
or overreacting. I
there's-
mean, and
there's a right way to say it, and there's a not so right way to say it. And
I
a
mean-
lot of people choose the not so right way. But on
Yeah.
the flip side, we get a lot of, good reviews that they loved the videographer. They loved everything up until that point. They haven't gotten everything back yet.
Right.
But it's kind of like, I mean, I like those reviews, but they're kind of baseless.
Yeah, they are baseless. I mean, at
So
the
people
same
are
time,
probably reading that like,
right? Exactly. It's not an accurate review because,
Yeah.
quite frankly, I mean, yeah, I love those too. I love when people go online and obviously are like, "Hey, this is a great company. We love working with them. Haven't received our films yet." To me, I'm like, "Okay, that's great. I'm glad it's out there." But if you haven't received your stuff yet, this is like a half review. You know what I mean,
But
this
it's
isn't-
like they're so
it's not
excited.
a complete right.
they're so excited.
Right,
and
exactly.
Everything went well, and they probably had a fantastic night. And
Yeah. Right.
But obviously the wrong way of going about it is an unnecessary confrontation, if you will, when the problem that they've given us is more than likely easily solvable.
Well, right. Well, that's so
Fixable.
true. That's exactly. I mean, like recently we dealt with a situation where, I think we put together the whole film and our couple picked out the song they wanted to have, and then they viewed the film and they're like, "Oh, I hate the song. I hate the film," and I'm like, "You chose the song." I mean, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if you get the opportunity to do that, then, it's the song that you chose, and I,
well,
so
reviews alone are so very subjective.
Right.
They're not just subjective to like who we are as a company and how we deal with things, but
Right.
they are also like they have to do with the person.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Ab-
how
that
things
is so
affect
true.
them and how
And
what
how they
their
look in the
temperament
film, right? And
is
how they look in the film, and all this kind. It's amazing because I had a great example of this is with regards to a photographer I worked with once who used to always show, and still does it or not, but he used to always show the client the shot afterwards. And this guy would, I mean, he would get his this is like him getting his rocks off by essentially doing this. He'd be like, "Oh, look at my shot. Hey, look, isn't this? Check it out." And the clients usually would go, "Oh, it looks so wonderful." Da, 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 da. And, and that was the way that it went. However, I worked on a shoot with this guy where he did that, and the client was like, "I look awful in that shot. I really don't care for the angle. Can you please move a little bit more to your left and then turn at this angle?" And it turned into like a micromanaging nightmare for this guy
That would be
throughout
me.
the shoot.
would
But the
totally
same
do
thing
that.
happened on the films on the back end that, I mean, she ended up liking her films fine, but at the same time, a lot of it was about her and the way she looked and this and that. And like, yes, thank you. I guess, yeah, that's right. I guess it did blow up in that photographer's face. But the thing is when you get to, when it becomes like that, it's no longer about the film. It's no longer about the film itself. It's no longer about the quality of the film or the types of shots that's in there. Now it's turned into a completely subjective film where it's about, it's about the client. Hey, look, it's me. That's all right.
Christine, you're looking a little different today.
Zach, you're fired.
I've always wanted.
No, wait, you're not
blacks.
fired. Anyway, Alan, you're going on there. Anyway, actually, you know what? If I was looking like Christine, I'd be a lot prettier. That's for sure.
Oh,
So anyway, but so that's right. We're switching places today.
jeez.
So no, but the point I'm making by all this is just, I mean, the films are, and the review system and all of that. I mean, it's all so subjective. So when you're looking at photographers, you're looking at DJs, you're looking at, films and whatnot. I always say start with the work. If you like the work, start there, and then take a look at the reviews. Is this stuff pretty good? Are there more negative than there are positive? I mean, what are the situations with these individuals? Did the company respond to those reviews and try to explain, hey, here's the situation and here's what happened?
Too. Like you want to respond, you want to defend yourself because most of the reviews contain wrong information.
Yeah,
Like
they do.
they want everyone to hate you,
Right.
and so they're gonna make things up
Exactly.
and not understand what exactly they're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And the rebuttal is so hard because you want to confront and say, "Hell no, that's not right."
Oh yeah.
But you have to walk that really.
You got to walk that
line.
really fine line. A great example of this is where one of my favorite examples of this, it has to do with a client who went online and started slamming our company. And
Is that the one where we posted her film?
no, not that
Oh.
one. But actually I did do that. But nevertheless, but no, we had a client go online and slam our company, claiming that we didn't honor our contract, but I ended up having to work with this client to add more hours into her contract, complimentary, because she was claiming one thing that wasn't in the contract that we even agreed upon with her. But I still took care of her anyway, and I went ahead and I'm trying to walk around this line gingerly, but I ended up taking care of her anyway and helping her out and making sure that everything was taken care of as the way that she wanted it. We ended up, I think, having the videographer stay a little bit later, and I ended up having to pay for it. The company ended up paying for it. We ended up covering, some gap coverage, which we don't do gap coverage. A lot of companies don't do that. And so, but I ended up, trying to, make this thing right, because she claimed that someone who used to work here said that they would do this or something like that.
But I had no proof.
Even though we didn't have any proof of it, so, and here I went out of my way to make sure that everything was taken care of with her, to make sure that she was happy, to make sure that, that this, issue was a non-issue and that everything was taken care of. Was it enough? Nope, no. Not at all. Went right online, straight to the review sites, slammed the company, slammed this, saying we didn't honor our original agreement, when essentially we ended up adding to it.
We went above and beyond.
We went way above and beyond and took care of this person, but she just, had it in for me, had it in for the company, and wanted to go online and slam us. And, when that happens, I mean, it's like there's nothing,
But see, that's when they read, that's what I'm saying, subjective. Like, they read all these other reviews where, they were wonderful to work with, and well, not for me.
Right.
So why am I different?
Right.
You're different.
Right, exactly.
That's why.
Which is funny because, most, photographers, most videographers, most DJs kind of operate the same way. That's what makes them successful, is the fact that they do operate, quite often the same way. So, anyway, the point about reviews is this: is that they're very subjective.
Ignore them.
Ignore them. Yeah, ignore them. No, ignore them. I mean, I think it's a good. It gives a good overall average as to what to expect from a company. But the good ones are great, and the bad ones, are bad, and but you got to kind of find that middle area, I think, in order to be able to really judge that company, and of course also speak with the person, make sure you like who you're working with, and
the fact that they
work
can
as well.
leave them anonymously, I think, works against a company as well.
Yeah.
Because there's no culpability.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to figure out who it is. Usually we know who it is.
Right.
But it's like Amazon. Anyone can go on there and leave a review.
Yeah, that's true.
Just look at the girl pee thing. That thing's hilarious, by the way.
Well, that's the thing. And the last
reviews
thing
are fantastic.
Right. Well, the last thing I want to say on reviews, then we'll probably wrap the show after this. But essentially, is just that leaving a review anonymous is completely unhelpful to anyone, because the issue, and the reason why, is that even if it's good or bad, because the issue with that is when you leave an anonymous review, if it's bad, the company has absolutely no idea who it is. They have no way of helping you, especially if you haven't contacted the company about the issue at hand. Number two, if it's a great experience, they have no way of saying, "Hey, thanks so much for the great, for the great review." It's one of those things where
and it doesn't really carry any weight too. It's like, why are you hiding?
Right, exactly. It's like why my final example on this is we had some DVDs go out to a client, and I know that everything was great. I had emails from her saying that she absolutely loved her films. Everything was terrific. We got the DVDs out. Thank you so much for everything. Went online, slammed the company anonymously. I had absolutely no idea who it was. I eventually kind of figured it out by the review, who it was, and then I approached them about it, and they were like, yeah, they had some, their overall experience they felt was pretty negative. But at the same time, like, I wish I would have known that ahead of time, so that way I could be able to help them out and assist them. So, again, reviews, it's the average of everything, and that's about it. That's pretty much all I have to say on reviews. Is, again, just take the average, love the work, talk to the company, make sure that you like who you're working with. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think we've covered it.
Yeah, I think I pretty much have used my capital on that. So
good. If you're going to put my name in it, though, I hope it's a good review.
There you go. All right, well, thanks so much for taking the time to watch Wedding Pro Weekly. If you're catching us online, or of course if you're listening to us, we appreciate it as well. That's all the time that we have for this week. For myself, Christine Stewart, and Tom Monaco.
He never has anything to say.
He never has anything to say.